The Great Wall of temporary structures? All right, folks, gather round. We're diving into one of the most fascinating and complex border disputes in modern history. Remember that whole India-China border thing? It's been a hot topic for decades, with both nations laying claim to overlapping territories. Yeah, the one with more tension than a yoga class taught by a mime. The stakes are high, and the atmosphere is often charged with uncertainty. Well, good news. They've decided to chill out a bit. Recent diplomatic efforts have led to a slight easing of tensions, a glimmer of hope in a long-standing conflict. Turns out, building temporary structures on disputed land doesn't really scream, "Let's be friends." Who knew, right? These makeshift camps have been a source of friction, symbolizing the ongoing struggle for control. So they've packed up their tents, taken down the keep out signs, probably, and agreed to disagree on where the actual border is. For now. Baby steps, people. It's a small but significant move towards de-escalation. This whole thing started because, well, borders are tricky. Historical claims, strategic interests, and national pride all play a role in this complex puzzle, especially when you've got two of the world's biggest populations trying to share a mountain range. The Himalayas are not just a natural barrier, but a symbol of cultural and historical significance for both nations. It's like trying to fit two elephants in a tuk-tuk. Not pretty. The logistical and political challenges are immense, but with continued dialogue and cooperation, there's hope for a more peaceful future. Tango time, but like a slow tango with rifles. Now, just because they've cleared out some construction debris doesn't mean they're braiding each other's hair. It's more like they're clearing the stage for the next act in a long, ongoing performance. They've agreed to start patrolling again, which is a big deal. This isn't just a casual stroll. It's a carefully choreographed move in a complex dance. Think of it as a very tense dance-off, with guns. Every step, every glance is loaded with meaning and potential consequences. The good news? They're actually talking to each other. Dialogue is the first step in any reconciliation process, and it's a sign that both sides are willing to engage. Imagine that. Military guys on both sides are having chats, probably over cups of chai that are less bitter than their history. This is huge, folks. Sharing a cup of tea might seem simple, but it's a powerful gesture of goodwill. For years, these guys have been playing a high-altitude game of risk. The stakes are incredibly high, and the terrain is as challenging as the diplomatic landscape. Now they're at least agreeing on the rules. This handshake isn't just a formality, it's a commitment to a more structured and hopefully peaceful interaction. And maybe, just maybe, realizing that working together is better than another Himalayan standoff. Cooperation could pave the way for a more stable and peaceful future in this volatile region. China says, "Let's talk, but don't get any ideas." Now, China, being China, is playing it cool. They're all about the strategic and long-term perspective. It's like they're saying, "We're willing to be friends, but don't mistake this for weakness." Their leader, Xi Jinping, had a chat with India's Prime Minister, Narendra Modi. Probably involved a lot of nodding, serious expressions, and maybe some fortune cookies with cryptic messages inside. So, we good now? Not so fast, amigo. Look, I'm not saying this is the end of all border disputes. Far from it. The complexities of these issues run deep, rooted in history, politics, and national pride. This isn't a Disney movie where everyone sings a song and lives happily ever after. It's a long, arduous journey that requires patience, understanding, and a lot of diplomacy. This is more like a reality show. You know, the kind where alliances are fragile, and every move is scrutinized. Sure, they're making progress, but there's a long way to go. Each handshake and agreement is just a small step in a much larger process. It's like they've just survived the first elimination round. The real test is yet to come. Now comes the real challenge: building trust, sorting out the details, and resisting the urge to throw each other off a mountain. Metaphorically, of course. The world's watching, guys. No pressure. Every step forward is crucial, and every misstep could set things back significantly. So let's keep our fingers crossed and hope for the best. So, what's next for these two Asian giants? Will they hug it out and become best friends, sharing samosas and dumplings? Or will they go back to their corners, muttering threats and stockpiling snowballs? Only time will tell. But for now, let's focus on the positive. They're talking, they're disengaging, and they're even patrolling together. That's more than we could say a few months ago. The future's unwritten, folks, and in this case, that's actually a good thing. Look, nobody wins in a war, except maybe the weapons manufacturers, but they're not invited to this party. Talking, negotiating, compromising, it's boring, it's tedious, but it's a hell of a lot better than the alternative. So, here's hoping that both India and China keep the lines of communication open, because the world needs more cooperation, not more conflict. And if they ever need a neutral mediator, well, I'm just a phone call away. And I make a mean cup of chai, just saying.